Hello and welcome back to the channel dedicated to popular philosophy, where we explain dense philosophical concepts for everyone. Today, I am not going to be making another video, an installment with the series regarding a new figure, but we're going to address some of the comments and the questions that you all have so gracefully left. This comment comes from Synthetic Studios. He writes, "You haven't defined reason, nor have you offered an alternative to it. Further, if enlightenment gives rise to new myths, and reason is the process by which we can understand reality, or what is, then these new myths, qua myths, are not part of what is, and thus a return to a rigorous adherence to reason, once again, should lead us away from such myths." Synthetic Studios comments raise a really excellent point, and I think it helps us to understand with greater depth and clarity what Adorno and Horkheimer are getting at here. The first thing is that I have not defined what reason is. And this is troublesome because when we actually return to Kant's What is Enlightenment, he gives a distinction between two forms of reason. Those two forms of reason, as you may remember, were the public use of reason and the private use of reason. The public use of reason was that reason that belonged to everybody as a common person, while the private use of reason, which comes from the word privative, which means to take away from, is directed towards a very specific end for an instrumental task. Now, the definition of reason across the history of philosophy has varied in many conceptions, from Plato to Spinoza to Kant to Hegel, and then furthermore with Adorno. But across these figures, what reigns true is that reason has the capacity to liberate human beings from their situation. In the case of the situation that we were just expounding upon in the last video, reason, however, becomes harvested for very specific ends. In fact, this is where enlightenment begins to eat itself. You could say that enlightenment, the body, begins to attack itself in an autoimmune fashion. So how does this become the case? Adorno will say ultimately that the project of enlightenment was never actually completed. It began with a hope, with a venture, but ultimately that end was distorted and co-opted by very specific interests. The question now becomes, what are the alternatives? Well, this is a great question, and for a number of reasons. First and foremost, it leads us to Adorno's late work that I had mentioned in the last video, titled Negative Dialectics. In this text, Adorno directly tackles some of the concerns that were brought up early in his career. So what is a negative dialectics? In order to understand this text, you must understand what it is a reference to. Negative dialectics is thought of as a text which is thought of as a continuation of the problems that were raised in Hegel's own dialectics. Adorno sees his dialectics as negative as opposed to Hegel's dialectics, which is affirmative. This means Hegel's dialectics ultimately ends in some type of positive conclusion. It culminates in a material or concrete way. For Adorno, however, he's suspicious of this, and for a multitude of reasons. One of those reasons, which we tackled in the last video, is how the Enlightenment project actually led to atrocities of the 20th century. Adorno speculates that as opposed to a positive dialectic and affirmative dialectics, we should actually have a dialectics that actually critiques what is left. That is, what is actually concrete, what is actually present, is actually deserving of critique. So what does this mean? This means that as opposed to having a positive outcome, the process of critique is never ending. Reason must constantly develop itself. It must constantly respond to its own context and must be critically engaged in recreating itself. So what does this mean for the alternative? In short, Adorno wants to say the alternative is that we must continuously seek to understand ourselves, our reason, our context, and our history. There's no way around it. The modern context is one that is plagued with uncertainty, which is not a weakness, but is actually a strength of the promise of humanity. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope to return to our series next week. where we begin to discuss Heidegger and his own grappling with the problem of modernity.
In a world that seems increasingly fractured and uncertain, many of us find ourselves asking fundamental questions about the path we're on. As we witness growing inequality, environmental crisis, and social division, it's natural to wonder, is there another way? That other way can only be thought when we understand reason, because reason is the capacity that provides a standard that is more than our circumstances. In this video, I began to define reason, but that definition strikes me as rather incomplete. In order to define reason, we would have to go into greater depth. Adorno is responding to a long tradition which attempts to conceptualize reason. The only problem with concepts is how they tend to not capture the entirety of the object they wish to discuss. Concepts always leave out that particular and transcendent aspect of an object, person, or experience. Concepts can never do complete justice for an object. The question becomes, can we do justice to the concept of reason? We must turn to Kant for that definition of reason. Kant's critique of pure reason is precisely defining, assessing, and disciplining reason. The critique of pure reason will also divide reason and ultimately attempt to unify it once again. Hence, you can see why Adorno and others have come to think of reason as having two faces. That is what it means to have a dialectic. Thus, the story of reason is more complicated than we may be used to thinking. Stay tuned for a discussion on the concept of reason.